This is Link, the iconic main character of the Legend of Zelda series. He's got 20 game titles under his belt across all of Nintendo's major consoles, and he's second only to Super Mario in personifying Nintendo's legacy of classic games. Given his popularity, people have long wondered if Link's adventures would ever take him into the bigger world of mainstream entertainment. Well, we got an answer on November 8th, 2023, when Nintendo quietly announced that it would be collaborating with Sony Pictures Entertainment to produce a live-action Legend of Zelda feature film. This raised many questions about how the world of Zelda might be adapted for the big screen. The games clearly have a lot to offer, a rich world full of interesting characters, beautiful artwork, incredible music, but the games also come with some unique story challenges that the filmmakers will have to overcome in order for this film to please not only longtime fans of the series, but also a general movie-going audience that might never have wielded the Master Sword. All of this makes me wonder, how do you write a Zelda movie? Let's find out on The Art of Storytelling. If you've ever played any of the Legend of Zelda games, then you know they're very special. They have real imagination and artistic vision, and a very particular mood and visual identity. They're able to recall that sense of adventure that we all remember from childhood. One commonly cited bit of Zelda history is that its creator, legendary game developer Shigeru Miyamoto, drew inspiration for the game from his own childhood memories of exploring the countryside in his home in Sonobe, Japan. And this spirit of childlike wonder and exploration has always been the essence of the Zelda series. In short, these games have heart. So the question is this: can that magic survive the transformation from a game into a film? Of course, the main difference is that a film comes with certain prerequisites like a fixed narrative and dramatic tension and a central conflict. And while many games do have those elements, they're not strictly necessary, and in some cases would actually be detrimental to the game's principles. Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, they're not intentionally designed to have a fixed narrative. They do have a story, but that story is told in a fundamentally different way. Games that do have a fixed narrative are much easier to adapt into a film because the plot and character arcs are already present in the game's story. For games that don't have those things, the filmmakers need to create them while still preserving the integrity of the world and the characters of the game. There are, of course, some things that are no-brainers for a Zelda movie. These are the minimum key ingredients, without which the story would not be recognizably Zelda. So you'll need the fictional land of Hyrule, along with a castle and a Master Sword. You'll need the protagonist Link and the main supporting character Zelda. You'll need some version of Ganon, and the main themes of destiny and balance. And of course, it wouldn't be Zelda without Zelda's Lullaby. Without all of these ingredients, you can't make the delicious chocolate chip cookie that is Zelda. If you're a Zelda fan, you can probably name a few extra toppings that you'd like to see on that cookie, but we can generally agree that these are the minimum necessary ingredients. Now for the parts the writers will have to invent, and I think this is where the challenge gets really interesting, because beyond the superficial details of the Zelda fictional world, the games don't really give us much to work with in terms of Link's character. Who is he? How well do we really know him? Sure, he's courageous, selfless, clever, but what's his conflict? What does he struggle with? And it can't just be finding the Triforce. He needs a meaningful character flaw. Nintendo had the same challenge with the recent Super Mario Bros. Movie because it's difficult to give Mario a character flaw without going a little bit off-brand. Their solution was to write a scene in which Mario's father criticizes him for following his dreams. And, well, there's just something slightly weird about seeing Super Mario having an internal emotional struggle. It's not a character trait that Nintendo would normally give him, but with a film, it's necessary. The writers will have the same challenge with Link's character, which doesn't come with his moral arc included in the box. The only negative depiction of Link I know of is from the 1989 Legend of Zelda cartoon, in which Link is actually portrayed as an insufferable jerk.
Looking good, princess, especially from this angle.
But I don't think that's considered canon. I suppose he does have a reputation for property destruction and theft, and for slaughtering cuckoos. And he does sometimes confront a dark reflection of himself. So there's some interesting potential there, but this isn't explored in a ton of detail in the games. The lack of character detail is, of course, intentional because Link, like many other game characters, is meant to be an avatar for the player. This is why even though he does speak to other characters in the game, the player never hears or reads his dialogue. And all this is made more complicated by the fact that we're talking about a long series of games, each telling a unique self-contained story, loosely unified in a somewhat sprawling and complex canonical timeline. Link's origins are also never fully explained. We're never told about his parents. His age is ambiguous, sometimes a child, sometimes an adult. And his relationship to Zelda is also a mystery. One might assume that their relationship is romantic, but there are cryptic suggestions that the two are actually long lost siblings. What all this means is that the filmmakers will need to make some fundamental decisions about who Link is, because all other creative decisions in the film will necessarily hinge on his character arc. So let's see if we can help the writers out. As an experiment, let's try to add some depth to Link's character by running him through the 12 stages of the hero's journey. These were developed by a Disney executive named Christopher Vogler as a way of mapping out story structure. According to these principles, Link's story goes something like this. He begins as a naive adolescent, living in a parochial forest village, isolated and protected from the dangers of the outside world. But because of his curious nature, he often goes looking for adventure in his village, and this sometimes gets him into trouble with the other villagers. They tell him, "Link, it's time for you to grow up and behave more responsibly," but Link doesn't listen. An inciting incident involving an unknown female character introduces a mystery, prompting a wise old guide to reveal to Link the prophecy of a hero who's foretold to wield a master sword and bring peace to Hyrule. Link does not believe that he is that hero, but circumstances nonetheless compel him to travel into the larger world of Hyrule in pursuit of the mysterious girl, who is revealed to be a princess named Zelda, and the two form a partnership. Link encounters a mentor who prepares him for the dangers of Hyrule. Lots of in-game characters to choose from for this role. He travels deeper into Hyrule and learns that this once peaceful land has been darkened by an evil presence called Ganon, who seeks to usurp the throne. At this point, Link's character is tested in some kind of trial, and he must rely on the help of a few friends and allies who join him on his quest. I'd say he gets the hookshot around this point. After a dangerous encounter with Ganon, Link begins to understand the nature of evil that he's up against, so he revisits the wise old guide, who calls on him to retrieve the Master Sword and accept the responsibility of his destiny. Ganon, fearing the prophecy of the hero, captures Princess Zelda and imprisons her inside Hyrule Castle. Link must train before he can face Ganon, who is much more powerful. Only after proving his strength in a series of trials is he able to draw the Master Sword from its altar. Link and his friends stage a daring rescue. Link defeats Ganon and seals away his spirit, but doing so drains his own life force until he's near death. Zelda, guided by her own divine powers and her faith in the prophecy, heals Link and saves him from the brink of death. Link shows his gratitude to Zelda and to his friends, and they part ways, but his journey is not complete. There's one final step. He must return the Master Sword to its resting place, thus restoring balance to the order of nature and the cycle of death and rebirth, for he is only a link in that eternal chain. At last, he returns to his hometown, no longer an innocent child, but a wise and courageous protector, and the last shot of the film is the Master Sword waiting upon its altar to be taken up once again, if the film does well at the box office, which it will. So as you can see, this is a very paint-by-numbers monomyth that may or may not be the direction that Nintendo chooses to take, but a lot of this symbolic and metaphorical material is already hard-coded into Zelda's imagery and characters and musical themes, the key ingredients that I mentioned earlier. So this film is in some ways already committed to certain narrative tropes, and they might not be able to deviate too much from that formula without breaking the rules of Zelda's already established fictional world. Whatever the story actually ends up being, I think it has a real shot at being a really great film. But there's one thing that they absolutely must do. They must honor the original spirit of adventure and imagination that Shigeru Miyamoto and his team put into these games, because as always, it's the heart that Zelda fans are going to be looking for. But let me know what you think. Do you want to see a tried and tested hero's journey, or do you want a more experimental approach to Link's first big screen adventure? Let me know in the comments. Toss me a sub if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one.